is up, and welcome back to another episode of So There's That. I am your hostess, doing the mostest, Key Von She. And we are here with a show that is very, very, very new to me. Let's see, quick check-in. I'm stressed. Busy end of month. I swear it feels like fiscal year closeout in my personal life, but it's cool. We gonna work through it. I don't really have any updates since the last episode, so we just gonna jump right into today's title, which is the TV show on Bounce TV titled Johnson. So Bounce TV also has a distribution deal with Hulu, so if you don't have Bounce and you kind of want to like see what this show is about before downloading another app, you can go ahead and catch seasons 1, 2, and 3 over on Hulu if you already have it, just to get a feel and see how everything is. But new episodes air on Bounce TV first every Saturday, okay? And on today, episode 5 drops. But, I wanted to ease y'all into some things. Maybe you don't know if you want to watch it. Maybe you don't. But that's why I'm here. And we're starting on season 4, episode 1 and 2. So I'm going to give you enough, right? I'm going to put like this nice meal in front of your face. Look at it. Look at it. This is steak, baby. Okay, now I just want to give enough to give you like some aromatics, okay, to make you really do some research on like I think I might want some more. Okay, you might want the recipe, and if you want the recipe, you need to go back and watch season 1 through 3 and catch up. Okay, catch up and rubber buns. Okay, so before we get into the episode, you already know what it is. I gotta go ahead and highlight some things, cast, crew, things of the like. All right, so the show itself was created by Deji LaRay. Oh my God. Let me get on YouTube. I knew I was forgetting to do something. I need to see how they pronounce their names. Name pronunciation. Every time I think I'm prepared, I'm always missing something. Hold on. Come with me as I complete. Of course there's an ad. Of course there's an ad. All right, stop. Hey, what's up? I'm Deji LaRay. Deji LaRay. Look at that. Okay, so it is created and written by Deji LaRay. The director for this episode, as well as episode 2, is Juwan. So Juwan is known for Soulmates, which is a series that came out in 2022, Secrets, which is a film that came out in 2017, and November Rule, which is a film that came out in 2015. And I'm pretty sure I saw Tatiana Ali and Lala Anthony on the cover. So that seems like a nice, like cute little campy film. I like to give y'all this information and the films that people worked on, and even if I forget like the films or the shows, just giving you their names, because a lot of times we don't recognize the crew that helps get the content out there, when a lot of times we probably already consumed some of their work anyway. And directors typically have like a director style or a signature, so you might have recognized this. I want to say that I saw November Rule in 2015, but I also was not living in this country, so I'm not sure. When I did not live in the United States, I wasn't keeping up with nothing that happened here, like at all. If you haven't traveled outside of the country, please do so. And I'm not talking about the Caribbean. I'm not talking about Mexico. Hop, jump, skip to Europe and Asia. It's amazing over there. The producers are Thomas Q. Jones, who is one of the characters, Deji LaRay, who is also another character, Cedric The Entertainer, who has like a couple of guest appearances on here, Rhone, Reesha L, Archibald, and David Hudson. The music supervisor is Philippe, Pierre, and I'm definitely going to make sure that I add the music supervisors or the composers, especially in TV shows where music is absolutely made as like a punctuation or an accent on the overall storyline. And this show is based in Atlanta. Duh. Like, the music is big. Hello, welcome to Atlanta, what I play is play. So I'm gonna make sure I do that as well, because we just don't give a lot of love to the music supervisors or the sound designers, especially for like action shows and like sci-fi and stuff like that. All that squishy sounds and the clicks of the feet and the heels and the walking and the breathing. That's all your sound designer, guys. They do real work. Our cast, we have Deji LaRay, who's Greg, Thomas Q. Jones, who plays Omar. He is also the showrunner. Philippe Smithey, who plays Keith, and Derrex Brady, who plays Jarvis. Guest stars in this episode include T.C. Carson, which you may know from Living Single, as well as D.L. Hughley, which you know from the Hughleys, as well as him being one of the 4 kings of comedy. All right, so the log line of the show. So a log line is just basically like, give a 15-second brief of the premise of the show. So the show's about lifelong best friends, all with the same last name, them navigating love, friendship, heartbreak, and personal growth. And I can honestly say that this is such a like blanket and like a love letter to Black men. Like, Deji really wrote something that still has like some themes that are like toxic masculinity, or themes that are specific to Black masculinity and Black men identities, without getting deep into stereotypes or painting negative pictures of Black men. So as I consumed it, I really was like, I don't know if y'all are online, but it just seems like over the last, I'll just say that when Black men are brutally unalived, Black women are their #1 supporter. And when the opposite happens, we don't really see that same level of support from Black men. So I know for me, I saw a huge shift in 2020, where I'm not gonna mention the names. I don't want to like bring up bad memories for anybody, but since 2020, I've really seen a divide between like Black men and Black women, and Black women feeling unprotected and Black men feeling abandoned. And I can say that both things are true. So with all that being said, as I watched this, and I binged season 1 through 3 to bring y'all this, I felt as if I feel that Deji is really laying the foundation for the viewers, man or woman, to get into the mind, the struggles, the sensitivities, and the love of Black men. So this is a show, I wasn't annoyed by a character. Most times there's always one where I'm just like, oh no, like it's too much. But Deji really wrote characters that have distinct personalities, but they're not caricatures, nor are they archetypes for real like that. And honestly, that's the beauty of this show. Like season 3, I literally tweeted Deji and was like, you about to have me crying, like happy tears. Like this is, it fills my heart so much. Like it fills my heart. And I know you're like, keep on sheet, hurry up. But aren't you glad I didn't do like a super long intro then? Okay, the synopsis of, honestly, episodes 1 and 2, so we'll just kind of combine them together since I'm doing both. So I'll give you the synopsis, and this was really for episode 1, but I'll like, episode 1 and 2 are kind of like the reason I'm doing them together, because they are distinctly continuous. So the Johnson men are getting ready for Keith's upcoming wedding, his little nuptials. Who says Black men don't get married? And Jarvis is suspicious of his new client's low appraisal. We're gonna get into that. Greg is promoted to sous chef, while Jarvis is learning that the dating market is actually trash. And Omar has started his own like startup company to produce apps for other companies. So let's give you a little character backdrop so I can try to like summarize who they are. But you don't need to go back and watch season 1 through 3. Like, you're not getting out of that, okay? You're not. So Keith was raised by a single mom. He's like the weird one of the group, and I use weird like with a lot of endearment. I'm a weirdo. Keith is a weirdo. He's very eclectic, but he's really astute, and he's at the point where he's recognizing like gentrification in the neighborhood that's pushing out small business owners. And he's a photographer by trade. He has a business on this street, and a big company is coming in and it's forcing all of the black business owners to sell their business. So he has a lot of passion, a lot of creativity, but he's also in tune with what's happening with like mayoral elections as well as city council. Greg kind of is like the aimless one of the group, the class clown, if you will. They are all very funny in their own way, but Greg kind of operates from like an insecurity to where he feels that he doesn't really have a cemented place in life. So he's just trying to find himself. And so he goes through making, you know, find yourself decisions while he tries to like figure out what his passions are. Jarvis is a big shot real estate agent. He has his own company, but things go south as real estate markets do, and he's in direct competition with somebody that he worked for like a month, and her name is Antoinette Bouveau. So we find Jarvis at the tail end of his company going under, but Jarvis actually experienced like a super traumatic event earlier in the season. So he's reconciling with his own blackness, with what he stands for, as well as his new family dynamic. And last we have Omar. Omar has been trying to develop his own apps, but things haven't been going well. And also what hasn't been going well is his marriage. So he's dealing with the ups and downs of what that looks like, making some mistakes along the way, having some points along the way. But as I said earlier, he's now gotten an opportunity to create apps for others. And this is gonna be the vehicle to where he can get app creation experience to then maybe take something back from that and get back to his dream of actually having his own app like that he created on his own. So there is the picture. Diving in. So each episode is 22 to 24 minutes straight. So obviously if you're watching this on Bounce TV, like on the network, 30 minutes or whatever. But if you're watching it on the app and if you're watching it on Hulu, 22, 24 minutes. Let me tell you something. I know y'all be out there like, give me longer shows, give me longer shows. Oh my God, it was too short. On this side of things, baby, I was so happy when I saw 22 minutes. Excited. We open up episode 1 in therapy. Black men going to therapy. Yay! I love it so much. These 4 men, what I like about this is throughout the seasons, you will see that when there is a major suggestion from one friend to another or from an outside source to one of the friends, and it's something that they aren't used to within the community or within their own lives, they take that leap together. So the reason they were going to therapy, or the initiator of the therapy, was from Omar in this huge traumatic event that happened that he finally voiced after 25 years. But he still struggles to confront. So they all decided to go together, and you see them being vulnerable to an extent, right? The moment you walk into therapy, you're not just spilling your guts. So they're telling enough for the therapist to kind of see through the facade of using laughter and comedy to hide the truth, buying expensive gifts to hide your pain, things of that nature. And so they have a black male therapist at that, which is hyper important, especially for us, because you want to be able to talk to somebody who can empathize with you and knows exactly what you're going through. Maybe they haven't lived the life that you live, but they have a shared experience, and this allows for the psychiatrist to actually be able to give you homework that makes sense. And this is important in the Black community. So if you're somebody who's not Black watching this and you have Black friends, when they're talking about these things, you know, if you want to be an ally or just a friend, let's take allyship out of it, because I feel like it's being weaponized at this point. But if you just want to be a friend, just listen to them and then do some research and help them find like a Black woman or a Black male or somebody that's a member of the LGBTQ community, because that is what we're looking for. Somebody who looks like us, so that way when they're giving us something to work with, we don't automatically object to what they're talking about because they don't have a shared experience. So love that so much. We're also dealing with a member of the friend group that's getting married. So we already have 2 members. Okay, like they're married, but like Jarvis is going through a divorce. I won't say why. Go watch the seasons. And Omar is currently separated. But Keith is newly engaged, and Greg is out here trying to find his own identity outside of appeasing himself and like floating through life aimlessly through different women. So we have like different dynamics in areas of relationships, but the men are still very supportive of Keith. They're very happy for him. And his fiance, Jackie, they all really like her. So there are some things happening, but it's also like happy times. I forgot to mention that the genre is comedy / drama, and it's comedy forward. So a lot of the notes are just lighthearted. The tone is very lighthearted while tackling some deeper themes. And a lot of times it's more palatable to have a deeper meaning as a secondary or a subgenre than necessarily comedy being the subgenre, because sometimes it can come off as not taking serious subjects seriously, if that make any sense. Jarvis. Omar is super excited. He has a building, he has a startup company. So between season 3 and season 4, there's a lot of capital investment. He actually has a place and has enough money to hire some workers, but they're Gen Z. So how they're depicted on screen, you know, they playing ping pong, they playing Snake on the computer, they're like throwing popcorn and stuff in each other's mouths and just like not looking serious, not looking like a company that is a serious business company if you first walk in. Jarvis comes in, he's kind of looking around, and you know, they're just taking their Gen Z jokes or whatever. And they're talking about it, and Omar is just expressing a lot of excitement about the new job, and he finally feels that he's getting a foot in the door, and he's excited about developing this app. And then Jarvis, you know, he asked Jarvis like, how's, you know, the housing market looking? Oh my God, I'm thirsty. This probably ain't the thing to quench it, but whatever. And Jarvis tells him, you know, his clientele has lessened and he's had to revert back to taking clients under 500K. So basically clients who are looking to sell or buy homes 500K or lower, which he hasn't had to do in, it seems like, a lot of years. So it's a minor setback, but he's adjusting with it, as well as adjusting with the fact that he's going through a divorce. There's a lot of major life changes, personal and professional. And I just love that it's just 2 best friends who are just genuinely checking in on each other. And I love that when they have conversations with one another, like one's super happy and maybe the other one is not having like the best of times. The one that's not having the best of time is never like, oh no man, I don't want to tell you about my stuff because you know I don't want to ruin the mood. They never do that. They have created a safe space within their friend groups to be able to express happiness even when the other one may not be in the happiest place, but that person who's not in the happiest place personally still has genuine happiness for their friend, and they can also freely express what's going on in their lives. When I tell you, I am obsessed with this male friendship, like everything I be talking about online, where I'm like, men need to learn how to be friends. Watch this show. If you feel like you just got homies and y'all can only go to the basketball court on the weekend, but you can't call them up when you going through divorce, when you got money troubles and this, that, and the third, watch the show and see what it looks like to have that, and see what it looks like to create that space and be a friend, because you have to be a friend in order to like get good friends. So I would highly encourage men to watch this show to see how to be a friend, and then how to be and how to receive friendship. It's about trust, reciprocation, honesty, communication, and vulnerability. So as somebody who takes friendship very importantly, it's beautiful. I'm so happy. And yeah, this episode is probably gonna be longer than the show. I don't know, I'm doing 2 episodes, so it is what it is. 22 plus 22, 44, you know what I'm saying? All right. Omar also brings up the fact that he's still upset and has not talked to Uncle Eugene. So D.L. Hughley plays Omar's uncle, and Omar was hired by D.L. Hughley to work at the nightclub that he owns. So he is a radio show host, which is what D.L. Hughley does in real life. So Uncle Eugene, or Gene that they call him, also has a lounge, just like a high-end like lounge bar. And Omar fought a guest. This is bad for business. So, you know, Eugene was like, look, I can't have that here. This man might press charges not only against you, but my business. And this is like not good for business. So your head is not in the right place. You're reverting back to anger issues and stuff like that. So I'm going to have to let you go. Omar is still mad and honestly thinking like a child, and just being immature about the whole thing, because he feels that he shouldn't have been fired and that Eugene should reach out to him. So while I love the friendship, I love how through a couple of the characters, specifically Omar and Keith, that they are still, you know how when you go to your mama and your daddy house and you just, even though you're like 30, you just revert back to like a child. So because of these relationships that they have, like close-knit relationships they have with relatives, it's very like, you should be apologizing to me. You did me wrong. You're my uncle. How dare you take his side? Like, it's so bratty and like crybaby, like just irrational. It's just like when kids cry about the most irrational things, that's where we are in this situation. So Jarvis just lets it go. Like, they all call him uncle. They've literally been friends since they were in, what did he say, second grade? Second grade. They're like 7 or 8 years old. They mid-30s. So they just let it go because you know what it is. Like, you know, eventually family will reconcile. And it's not even that deep. So maybe they just need time. T.C. Carson plays a chef. I don't remember his name at all. I got the IMDb app. Come on, Key. All right, let's see. Let me back it up. Back it up. All right, cast. Where are you? He guest stars, so I'm literally scrolling down and down and down and down. Where is he? All right, let's go to Google. T.C. This is like terrible journalism, guys. TC Carson Johnson. What's his name? I don't know what's happening. I can't find it. Anyway, Greg calls him chef. So Greg realized his purpose in life and he wanted to be a chef. And TC Carson's character was his mentor. So he accidentally like throws this party for Greg and was like, hey, you know, you graduated culinary school, but he's a week early or whatever. It is what it is. Now, he said something to the effect of, I could have sworn it was da-da-da, but I guess I got the date wrong. I don't know if this is a foreshadowing of like dementia, because as a chef, like chef world is crazy. Precise ingredients, precise time that you have to take things out of the oven, put things into the oven, let things settle. Everything is about perfection. So the fact that he got the dates wrong gave me a little pause. But in the show, they just laugh it off or whatever. And he tells Greg that somebody from the Big Brother, Big Sister program called to get a reference. And Greg is, I just feel like so many things are happening to me. If you're watching this, I'm so sorry. So many things. And Greg is like, oh, bet, you know, I've been waiting to hear back from this. I forgot I even applied to this whole thing. So we go on and Greg is with the program director and he's going to meet his little brother. He walks into the house, he meets Darius. Darius being raised by his grandma. And I'm assuming they like make note that Darius has had previous big brothers, but it didn't go well. And they maybe tried too hard to try to get to know him and the relationships just didn't work out. And Darius notices the specific type of vehicle that Greg is driving. And so he's like, oh, you're into cars? And Grandma was like, you know, he got a lot of toys or whatever. And Darius was like, Grandma, how many times I gotta tell you? They're not toys, they're models, they're collectors, da da da. And he asked Greg, can he take a ride? And Greg was like, okay, on one condition. The tone that you just used with your grandmother was very disrespectful. So you're not gonna ride in my car until you give her a proper apology. And he apologized and was genuine about it. And the grandma was like, okay. And you could tell that she likes him. And I love how Greg corrected him. It wasn't a reprimand, it wasn't an angry thing, and he didn't back away. He simply let the boy know, I understand that you were trying to tell her that these are not toys and these are collecting things and you're very passionate about it, but there's a way to do it. So I like that he mentioned the tone was disrespectful and not that you were being disrespectful, because that's a big difference. You're trying to teach them how to communicate, how to have differences. You're never going to be able to avoid conflict or anything like that, but you need to be able to articulate what you're trying to say, even when you're trying to correct someone else. So again, it's just black boy positivity all up and through this show. I need some chapstick. Meanwhile, Jarvis is in a meeting with another client and they running his stats. They're like, I heard you can't book nobody. And you used to be the top dog, but Antoinette Bouveau is obviously outworking you. So why are you here with us? And he was like, you know, like, I'm here for the people. You know, the market is a little shaky right now, but I'm gonna make it do what I do, baby. And so he asked them for their appraisal paperwork and he gets it. And he was like, are you sure these numbers are correct? This is super low. And they tell him, they were like, we did upgrades, we got new finishes, we got new this, that, and the third. And he was like, well, maybe we need to contact them back because this doesn't make any sense on why they would lowball y'all this way. So the couple was like, well, the house across the street literally sold for almost double the amount. And Jarvis is like, still looking through the paperwork. He was like, I don't understand. Like, I can't see a reason why they would appraise you like this. There must be a mistake. And so they look at him, and the wife was like, I could think of one reason. And then the husband puts his hand around her shoulder and he said, I could think of two. And Jarvis is like, oh, because they're talking about it's because they're black. I looked this up, okay? According to an article in March 9th of 2023 on NPR.org, you can go ahead and look that up. A 2021 study by Freddie Mac found that black and Latino homeowners are about twice as likely as whites to get low appraisals. According to the report, 12.5% of the properties in predominantly black census tract areas received appraisal value lower than the contract price. So each episode we kind of go through different things, but the reason I wanted to look this up, one, to give y'all that information, and I wanted to see like, damn, like, is this a thing? And I believed it was a thing, but I really wanted to get some stats and stuff behind it. But like I said at the beginning, right, Jarvis is being confronted with his black identity and what it means to be there for the people while also trying to elevate his life and show that that black doesn't have to equal poor. So I predict that Jarvis is like pouting at, you know, not having like top clients anymore. I think is going to convert in the future to wanting to advocate and push for fair appraisals and fair housing, like contracts and stuff like that, because of the discrimination faced in predominantly black and Latino communities. I hope that this is the route that they go. Otherwise, why? Like, why mention it? That's just me. I'm not writing on the show. But I mean, I get mentioning it to make us aware, but because this character has had certain things happen where it's pushing him towards researching black issues surrounding him, I think we might go down this rabbit hole. So we're all out, and it looked, where were they? I don't think they were at the club where Keith met Jackie, his now fiance. They used to frequent this bar / like club area. Oh no, they were there because they be doing like spoken word and singing and stuff. I forget the name of it. And they're out just celebrating just the different things and the successes and stuff that they have and the wins that they have and everything coming up. Greg and Keith get on Omar about not contacting Eugene. So Greg didn't know that he didn't hit him up yet. He was the only one in the group that didn't know. And so Omar's like, he should have fired me, like I'm his family, this and the third. And he was like, so y'all trying to say that I'm wrong? And everybody was like, yes, like that's his business. At the end of the day, you put you in jeopardy, because he was like, oh, I'm family. He knew that I was going through a rough time, this and the third. Sir, you knew that you was going through a divorce. You knew that you didn't have a job, and you still assaulted somebody. Why is it Eugene's priority to think about your life when you did not do so? Make that make sense, sir. Again, real brat behavior, and not whatever brat they talk about with this Chapel Rhone thing, but I'm talking like a brat that we know. So Omar got up and left because, you know, he not trying to hear all that yada yada yada. I need to stop listening to these new kids these days. I know I used to say yada yada, but I work with somebody, he'd be like, oh yeah, you know, and I was on the phone with so-and-so and they was talking like yada yada, so we said that we was gonna hit up and link up later on and do all the yada yada, and I'm just like, oh my God, y'all will kill anything. Use the words correctly at least. God dang. So Greg and Keith are over there with Jarvis. Is it Greg and Keith? Let me look at my notes. Yes. So Greg and Keith spot a woman eyeing Jarvis, and they're like, hey, you know, she looking at you like you should probably try to date. You know, your divorce with Lisa is almost final. You know, live a little bit. So she comes on over, and he's a little nervous, but, you know, she offers to buy him a drink. So then you see him like drinking and just relaxing and talking about golf, and she's pretending to be interested, but she tells him, you know, you seemed like a man that I should get to know. Like, I'm not from here, or whatever. So she doing her little fake laugh, this, that, and the third. And then she offers to buy him another drink, everything like that. So they're like, let's get out of here. So they're on an Uber ride back to his place. And it seems like, you know, they're enjoying each other in the backseat, you know, just a little bit of PDA, a little bit of touching, this, that, and the third. Next day we wake up and Jarvis wakes up from being face down on his bed, fully clothed, and he's like trying to figure out like what happened in the night. So he gets up, he doesn't see the girl, and he notices that his watch is not on his wrist. He's walking around, he's looking at everything, he's searching his pocket, he's like, I know I gotta be here somewhere. He sits back on the bed and he's going back through the night, and that's when he kind of has a memory of like a passing thing. You know how like when you don't know that you saw something until you go back and realize that you saw it? And he realizes she drugged him. Moving along to episode 2. I know. I'm not gonna leave y'all hanging right there. Okay, we just gonna jump right into it. In episode 2, so it looks, there's this guy named Jock. I don't know that I remember him from season 3 at all, but it seems as though he's either like a business associate, investor, or partner ish. He's a stakeholder, let's say that, in Omar's company. And he walks through and he goes and sits in the office and he was like, I don't know what type of business you're running, but if investors don't see that you're taking this seriously, or that you even run like a serious establishment, then they're gonna pull money. And this is really important. This is a great segue into launching the career and getting your business off the ground. So Omar is assuring him, like, you know, we're gonna be fine. They're just Gen Z, they're just a little bit different these days, but we're gonna have everything good and ready to go by the deadline. So he like, all right, if you say so. So Omar goes out there and he's like, hey, everybody, and they just still doing what they're doing. And I was like, hey, listen up, can y'all just like, you know, stop playing catch for a little bit? So he's trying to like lay down some new ground rules, this and the third, but baby Omar, you done already set the standard. You're trying to be their friend. You were their friend first, and now you're trying to be the disciplinarian, and it never works. So they moaning and groaning, and they're like, so anyway, can you give us some alkaline water, or at least provide us with some cucumbers to put into the nasty water that you're serving us in the first place? Thank you very much. And he just kind of like shakes his head and walks off. So we go back into Jarvis. So Jarvis is with a police officer at the club, along with Keith and Greg, to support him because he filed a police report about getting robbed and getting drugged. So they actually confirmed that she put something in his drink, and the cop was like, look, I can put out her image into the news, but you're not getting that watch back. Like, I'm sorry. And so he's just kind of like upset, disappointed, chalks it up as a loss per se. Like he can afford it, but the cop is like, this is just very common. And so all I can tell you is to just be very careful in the future. Keep an eye on your drink at all time and protect yourself, because just because you're a man doesn't mean that you're impervious to getting scammed, robbed, and drugged. And basically, like, you're lucky nothing worse happened to you. So they end up going to get lunch, and they're talking about Keith's upcoming wedding because it's a destination wedding, and they keep getting on Greg about like his passport. Did you buy your ticket yet? Like, dude, you cutting it close. And Greg finally admits that he's never flown anywhere. And I think nowadays it's a little bit better, but I definitely still have family members who've not seen like outside of Chicago, or if they can't drive, they're not getting on the plane. And so in a comedic way, you touch on somebody who he wants bigger for himself, but he's never really been outside side of certain places. You haven't even really seen the other side of the United States and stuff like that. So, you know, they getting on him, but, you know, they just like, you know, still like ragging on him, but still supportive and just being like, look, we all gonna be on the plane. Like, do you need us to hold your hand? Like, what's up? You need you some Xanax or something? Like, it is what it is. And they going down their memory because they like, ain't no way you ain't never been. And they realize every trip they ever made that they had to fly, he ain't go. So they just kind of getting on him a little bit like men do, but they were just really excited about the wedding and everything that's coming up, even with the whole like police report filed. This just kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, is their connection and their support for one another. So I was super premature and talked about Greg meeting his little brother in episode 1. It's in episode 2, but y'all already got all that. So everything's going great. It's going great, guys. Jarvis goes to his biological dad's house, and I'm gonna leave it at that. And the dad brings up like, oh, you know, what's happening with that house that we were gonna do that investment in, this and the third. And Jarvis was like, look, I looked into everything and it really looks like a money pit. And his dad was like, look, you the one who got me like excited about real estate, like what's up? And Jarvis was like, look, I can't put any money into this. It's super unstable. You already know, like I already got to cut back on my own finances. I done already had to pay money to cover your gambling debts. Like, and I just got robbed. And his dad was like, oh yeah, I heard about that. And so Jarvis is kind of taken aback and he was like, so you didn't check on me? The hell? And he was just like, oh, well, if I would have raised you, then you got to be harder than that. You wouldn't have been in this situation, this, that, and the third. And so Jarvis is kind of sitting there and you could just tell that he's thinking about like, he's trying to create this relationship with his bio dad after all these years. And he kind of has a moment of reflection where I can't necessarily put like words into his mind, but it's like when you find out, like when adoptees be like, I don't know my real self because I wasn't raised by my blood parents. And then you go meet them and you realize like the blood doesn't mean that they would have been the best choice for you. And so he's kind of sitting with that and flabbergasted after this entire conversation. Omar back at work and he's like, oh my God, that looks so great. This looks phenomenal. Look at the processing system on this. You're doing great. He's trying to give like positive feedback and positive reinforcement and everything like that. And he was like, okay, well, I want to have stuff on the large board so we can start piecing all of these things together. So, you know, remember what I talked about? We're going to be working late. It's going to be a few more hours, but it's going to be good. Y'all going to get some perks from that. And they was like, yeah, we're leaving at 5. And he was like, look, I'm going to provide this. I'll give y'all a little bit of bonus on top of it for staying a little bit later. And it's about to be a 3-day weekend. Like, what's up? And they was like, it's 5 o'clock. Gotta go. Goodbye. So they all leave. And he's just like, what the hell is going on? I mean, he's trying. But honestly, Omar, what did you expect? What did you expect? You went in there being the homie and not the boss. And then you expect them to automatically take you seriously. Now, to get a building and hire people going from season 3 to season 4, you've already established a culture of like laziness. So it doesn't matter how smart they are, they're lazy. And now they are a product of your leadership. So we should probably rethink, you know, our leadership. We're back at home with Keith and Jackie and they're being cute. They are so cute. It's really just really nice to see like just a cute little couple and they're so excited about getting married and everything like that when a commercial airs and it's her dad, the city councilman. He's been on the seat for the last 12 years and he's starting his campaign 8 months early. He don't like Keith and he don't like that Keith has challenged him on his relationship with the very people who head the companies that are gentrifying the neighborhoods of the very business that he works in. And in the last season, he was like, I'll run against your daddy. And Jackie's you know, supportive of him. So he sees this commercial and he realizes, like, I don't have the funds, I don't have the experience. Like, your dad is a machine. Like, he's feeling insecure, he's doubting himself. And Jackie's like, babe, you are the smartest person that I know. First off, you're brave for standing up to my dad, because he absolutely got goons. But even more than that, you know what you're talking about, you're passionate, and you care. And she reminds him of who he is. Like, yes, you're this light person, and you're a photographer, and you're funny, and you're sweet, and you're gentle, and you give great, thoughtful gifts, but you care about the people, and there's a cause and a fire behind you that drummed up a following. And I think that you can do something with that, even if you lose. Like, you have my support, and you have the support of the people that believe in what you're talking about. And you can see him just like soaking it all in. And this is one of those things where it's a reciprocal relationship. It's very reciprocal, in that in this moment where she's pouring in, he also gives back. There's never a moment where they're leaving each other's cups empty. And that's one of the things that are like huge dynamics, at least that you see in these like Twitter wars, or these these diaspora wars and stuff like that, is, or gender wars, sorry, is black women always, you know, that we lose everything when we pour into these black men and they don't ever give us nothing back. They ain't doing this, they ain't doing that. I feel exhausted, I might as well be by myself. And so it's just really nice that even with the other relationships that are having like their conflict in like a complicated status, nobody's like depleted. They have like real grown-up issues that they need to talk about, but it's not like a you only take and I only give. So even in the midst of the people who are potentially uncoupling, there's still a maturity in how they're handling their situations. So I find that is very important, and you could definitely tell that Deji made sure to have some messy moments, but not like a Real Housewives of Atlanta type of situation. And I think that's important. He's being very responsible with how he's depicting black characters, black men, black women, and black relationships. So we see Omar at the office, and it's late, and he's decided he wants to hire an entirely new team. So he's trying to call people and going through like the list of people that maybe tried to apply before, when Jarvis calls him and he's like, hey, you know, what you up to? Like, you want to hang out tonight? And Omar's like, nah, like I'm trying to find like new workers, this and the third. So Jarvis is like, okay, you know, it's cool, just want to check on you, like how are things? And you know, he's a little frustrated. They have deadlines, so he's there doing the rest of the work that they were supposed to do before they dipped out at 5. So he's like, I'm gonna have to hit up with you later. And Jarvis is like, cool, bet, like, you know, hit me up. So then we cut to Eugene. So his name of his radio show is on the scene with Eugene. He has a co-host, female co-host, and they always do like a lot of banter, a lot of gender war banter that it always ends with like laughter and them eventually agreeing or like agreeing to disagree. And so we see shots of like all the men listening to the show. So they tune in nightly. And even though Omar is mad at Eugene, he still tunes in. And a caller calls in and he's talking about how he has his cousin that he's basically like best friends with, but there was a situation with money that has caused them to fall out. He doesn't really know how to approach it. Does he stop talking to his cousin? Like, how does he go forward with this? How do you approach the conversation with somebody who you consider a best friend and they're also your family member? And Eugene's like, look, ain't enough money in the world to get between you and a family member, especially one that you claim that you're close with. So reach out to your cousin, talk to him about the foul stuff that he did, and repair the bond that y'all have, because that's what's most important. So all of them are listening to this, and we see Omar look at his phone, and then he picks it up and he dials, and then the phone is ringing on one end. Eugene answers it after they cut to commercial. But then as Eugene is talking, we realize that his wife is calling him to see like what he wants for dinner. And on Omar's end, one of the people that he's looking to hire picks up the phone, and then we end the episode. Sorry guys, they didn't reconcile. I know. So there's that. Season 4, episodes 1 and 2 on Johnson. How do we feel, guys? How do we feel? I feel that I painted a really good picture. If you're watching this, I've literally been rubbing the corners of my eyes because I have juicy eyes. In the last couple of videos, I be having like whites in the corner of my eyes, and I'm just like, it bothers me so much. And now I'm self-conscious. It's crazy. It's anyway. I love the show. I love the show. Love the show. So far, I'm gonna give it, if I give it a 10, am I being biased? How do I really feel? I'm gonna do the Keith Lee thing and give it a 9.2 out of 10. I'm gonna give it a 9.2. Ain't no type of scale. I'm just giving it a number. It's beautiful. Okay, the writing, a nice flow. I don't feel like there's any gaps. I don't feel like there's a fast pace, and it reminds me of 90s shows where the episodes are different enough for you to mentally go somewhere else while still having a through line and not abandoning the characters' backstories or the characters' development. So each episode feels fresh. It's funny. I'm laughing at new things. I'm discovering new things while still, hey, have you talked to your ex? Have you talked to so-and-so? Have you talked to so-and-so? How is this going? I really love like shows written like that. So love that. The directing style, I don't really have any notes. I'm not upset by it. I know what's going on. I know the framework. The cinematography is beautiful. Shout out to the DP. The lighting is really nice. Love when black people are lit appropriately. And even in like the dark clubs, you can see everybody. So it's just really beautiful. I love how the club, there's like 2 main anchor locations. I think that one club is called like the Atrium. I think that's what it's called. So it's like a separate nightclub, and then you have Eugene's nightclub. So these are like the physical anchors. So think about like The Office or like Parks and Recreation or like Insecure, where it was the We Got Y'all as like an anchor location, a centralized location where a lot of things happen. So I really like that these are like the debrief areas. And it also reminds me of Grand Cru, where they had like that wine bar spot. So I like that it's not all over the place, right? Character development from seasons 1 to now, they just expand beyond who they are when we meet them. So there's a maturation that happens with the characters based on the events that they experience in life, and they're not grand leaps. And sometimes you don't mature in some ways, like we talked about with Omar. There's an infancy or an immature version in him as it relates to his uncle, but then in other ways he's growing, and that's real life, right? Sometimes we get good at some things while other things are still stagnant, but we're in therapy. And so I'm really hoping to see more episodes with them back in therapy. I think it's just important to show not only them talking, but to show the therapist as well, because somebody might watch it and feel encouraged to seek out a therapist for their own mental health. And you should always look for a therapist before you're in a mental crisis, because by the time you're in a crisis, a couple of things can happen. Either you're going to degrade to the point where you are not reaching out at all, and it can lead to some very terrible decisions, or you do reach out, but you're in such a state that we can't really get to the root of what it is, because we have to deal with the emergency of the crisis itself. And a lot of times, once that emergent crisis is over, people will quit therapy instead of continuing with the therapy to get to the root cause of the crisis in the first place. So while you're just kind of like in a bad mood or just having a good time, or maybe you came up on a whole bunch of money and you're feeling stressed about it or anxious or whatever like that, developing new relationships, you don't know, go seek a therapist when you're not anxious, when you can make a conscious decision to continue to go back and unpack things before it becomes an emergency. And what else? I think those are the main. Oh, and the friendship, the brotherhood, I just love it so much. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Having friends is so important. It, like, there was an episode in a previous season where Jackie was like, so in y'all's friend group, what's like the small groups within the group? Like, she was like, in girl groups, yeah, you can have like a group of 4, but like 2 are closer with each other than the other 2 or this and the third. And they were like, it's really not like that. They were like, yeah, we'll go to like somebody, but we go to them based off their capabilities and ability to help us with this thing. But then we all still convene together and talk about what that big thing is. So maybe like a couple of people may know a certain truth about somebody before the group knows, but the group always ends up finding out, and they always end up talking about it and talking through it. So I just thought it was a really good dynamic to show, instead of just being like, men friendships are way less complicated than women friendships, y'all are too complicated, y'all are always beefing and this, that, and the third. It was a great way to explain to her question the dynamic of a healthy male friendship. And honestly, that's how healthy female friendships are too. Like, you may have a group, but if all y'all are friends like you say you are, and you show up like you say you are, then it's really about using that friend's strength to their advantage, getting what you need from them, and then everybody together and just being like, oh yeah, no, they gave you great advice. Like, you don't have all the tools for your friends. Like, it just is what it is. That's why we have multiple friends. But don't be like talking about somebody else behind their back or whatever, or make another friend feel inadequate just because they don't have the strength of the other one. So I just love that a lot. That is going to wrap up today's episode. Again, you can check out Johnson seasons 1, 2, and 3 on Hulu. Season 4 is available on Bounce. All new episodes air every Saturday. Today is August 25th. A new episode is airing today. So if you like what I'm talking about, go ahead and binge everything and then catch right on up. TV shows are dropping like leaves for the fall right now. The writer's strike is over. The actor's strike is over. Shows are coming. But you're lucky because we're already into the 4th season. So if you like it, you can continue on without getting mad that you don't have nothing else to watch. As always, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment in the comment box below. You can also hit me up on Instagram at So There's That Podcast. And you can find me on Twitter, tweeting about TV shows, films, and my random thoughts at Kivonchi. If you want to email me or you have suggestions for some shows, you can email me at sothere'sthat.kivonchi@gmail.com. And that is going to wrap it up. Episodes 1, episode 2. Stream Johnson. Okay, I'm out.
Phase